Good morning, everyone, and Happy New Year. As you can see, I am not Heather Gallegos, who is our chairwoman of the Saginaw County Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors. She's been delayed and may or may not be able to join us. So it's Veronica Horn here, and I want to welcome you to 2021. And just say, as we get things going this morning, we recommend that you view this perk in speaker mode to enhance your viewing pleasure. Also, during today's program, everyone will be muted except the designated speaker. But don't worry, this is Perk. We'll still have time for our virtual business card exchange about halfway through. So now I'd like to begin all together and join me with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I hope you all had a wonderful holiday break and are ready for a brand new year to communicate, connect, and influence your way to better business. We're all excited at the hope of 2021 and the prospect of safely returning to normal in whatever form that takes for each of you. So with that in mind, let's get down to business. You should have received our emailed Perk brochure and sponsor message prior to today's event. We really urge you to take a look at the information and living local by supporting your fellow chamber members whenever possible. The chamber offers a variety of tools for you to use as you work to increase your business connections and bottom line. And the Perk brochure is just one of those tools. A variety of chamber benefits are another. Chamber benefit partners provide comprehensive benefit programs for members of the Saginaw County Chamber of Commerce. The chamber endorses their products and services, and they help support the chamber's quality of life community initiatives and member service programs. Because you belong, these value-added benefits can save you time and money. So each month, we try to highlight one of them to make sure you have the information you need to take full advantage of your membership. This month's highlighted member benefit is the Michigan Chamber Multiple Employer 401k plan for small business, administered by our own TriStar Trust. As a small business owner looking to attract and retain quality employees, we know that you look for resources that will provide you a comprehensive or a competitive advantage and allow you to provide financial stability for your workforce. The MIMEP, pronounced MIMEP, or Michigan Chamber Multiple Employer 401k plan, offers small business all the retirement benefits of a large company at an affordable and competitive price. The MIMEP offers a competitive advantage. Businesses can utilize this program to enhance their benefit package to attract and retain quality employees. The MIMEP can negotiate lower fees from service providers based on large participant numbers and account balances, which save money. The MIMEP saves time. TriStar's team of financial experts will complete necessary paperwork and handle all the administrative details. And the MIMEP creates efficiencies. Operational, transactional, and reporting functions are transferred to a third party, thereby reducing fiduciary and financial risk. Learn more about MIMEP by contacting the TriStar Trust Employee Benefit Team at 989-492-7610 or email retirementplans@tristartrust.com. And now, please join me in welcoming your 2021 Chamber Ambassador Chair, Amy Ames from Great Lakes Bay, Michigan Works.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Amy Ames with Great Lakes Bay, Michigan Works. As your 2021 Ambassador Chair, I have the privilege of introducing the Chamber's newest members at each Perc Breakfast. What makes this really exciting for me is that I'm at the beginning of a Chamber journey that creates new connections for all of you. And I get to do this every month. I'm happy to say that even though it's only 7 days into the brand new year, we have 3 new chamber members to introduce this morning. First up is Home to Suites by Hilton Saginaw. Home to Suites by Hilton Saginaw is Saginaw's newest hotel and suite complex, located on Trotner Drive off Bay Road. Home to Suites offers studio or one-bedroom suites with separate sleeping and living spaces, a kitchen with full-size appliances, free Wi-Fi, daily free hot breakfast, sustainable saltwater pool, fitness and laundry facilities, free parking, and also a business center and meeting rooms. With Home to Guarantee and a commitment to sustainability, you can expect a consistently positive experience and eco-friendly amenities with every stay. Home to Suites by Hilton Saginaw, welcome to the Chamber. Our next new member is Michigan Manufacturers Association. The Michigan Manufacturers Association, or MMA, is the state's leading advocate focused solely on securing a prosperous future for Michigan manufacturers through effective advocacy, meaningful education, and strategic business services. MMA, welcome to the Chamber. And finally, this morning, we have Michigan Recovery Services Incorporated. Michigan Recovery Services offers repo coverage across the Lower Peninsula of Michigan. Their vast network of repo resources includes professional bail enforcement agents, ex-law enforcement personnel, and experienced repo investigators. Extensive resources allow them to locate and safely recover individuals and collateral property professionally and efficiently for all of their clients. Michigan Recovery Services, welcome to the Chamber. And that's it for new members this morning. Veronica, it's back to you.
Thank you, Amy. At this time, I'd like to thank our current premier Perk sponsors, the organizations that make the Perc Breakfast possible by underwriting all 10 of our events during the year. All of our premier Perk sponsors are included on your screen. We encourage you to not only thank them, but patronize them. Support them with your business whenever possible. At each Perk, we like to highlight a few of those exceptional sponsors and tell you a little bit about them. So I'd like to do that right now. First up is Dow. The people at Dow are passionate about their goals in delivering integrity, respect, and safety to their customers, employees, and the planet. Whether working, doing business, or producing the materials that appear in your favorite brands, Dow relentlessly acts to make things better. By listening and collaborating, they strive to find out what solutions will be needed next. The Dow ambition is to become the most innovative, customer-centric, inclusive, and sustainable material science company in the world. Their goal is to deliver value, growth, and best-in-class performance through a focused portfolio and a culture of benchmarking, disciplined capital allocation, and streamlined and agile organizational structure. Alongside their customers, Dow creates the materials and solutions that transform our world, and in everything they do, they strive for positive impact on society and the planet. Thank you, Dow. Next, I'd like to tell you about DTE. Detroit-based DTE Energy leads our state in renewable energy generation and investment. DTE's commitment to clean energy is reducing carbon emissions and creating jobs that help strengthen Michigan's economy. By 2024, DTE will invest an additional $2 billion in renewable energy infrastructure and double its renewable energy generation capacity. Thank you, DTE. And the last of today's sponsors is one of our frontline heroes, Mobile Medical Response. MMR provides Saginaw County with unrivaled access to medical care through their accredited state-of-the-art ambulance and medical dispatching services. They provide over 108,000 patient transports annually across 17 counties. MMR strives to be the employer of choice for EMS professionals and the provider of choice for the communities they serve. Thank you, MMR. And now, with a special YPN message, I'd like to welcome our Chamber Young Professional Network Program Director, Steve Hensley. Take it away, Steve.
Thanks, Veronica. The YPN, I'd like to thank our outgoing YPN Steering Committee members. First is Jesse Kendall of First State Bank. Jesse served 3 years on the YPN Steering Committee, representing the YPN proudly within the community and around the Chamber. And we're grateful for Jesse's support and leadership, which has made an indelible impact on the YPN. So thank you, Jesse. And we'd also like to thank Scott Putzig of Shinners and Cook PC. Scott served 3 full terms, 6 years total, the most any steering committee member is able to consecutively serve. And he is also a past chair and vice chair of the YPN Steering Committee. Scott's time in service speaks for itself. He has shown unwavering support for the YPN and its mission, embodying the spirit and patriotism of an inspiring young professional. So we thank you, Scott, for your many years of service. And that's the latest from the YPN. I'd like to turn it now over to Susan Moody, the Chamber's Director of Sponsorships and Memberships, with some special volunteer acknowledgments. Please welcome Susan Moody.
Thanks, Steve. The Chamber would also like to take this opportunity to recognize some dedicated volunteers who've served as important leaders in helping the Chamber achieve the vision to communicate, connect, and influence on behalf of our members. These individuals have now completed their leadership roles or completed their terms of office, and we are so grateful for their service. On behalf of the Chamber membership, staff, and Board of Directors, we want to thank each of them for their excellent work that they've done to enhance the group, the Chamber membership, and the business community. Ordinarily, we would call them up to the stage to receive their plaque for their service. However, we are unable to meet in person, so each of them will receive their recognition plaques in the mail. First, I would like to recognize outgoing Ambassador Chair Dawn Boucher from the Manor Group. Although her service as chair and second term is over, Dawn has volunteered to serve as ambassador for a bonus year, and because she has served as chair in her last term. Thank you, Dawn, for continuing your service and commitment. Now, you've already met our new chair, Amy Ames, with the Great Lakes Bay, Michigan Works. This is Amy's 4th year on the ambassador team. Amy excels in new member recruitment and new member retention. She has served as a team leader for the last 2 years, and we are honored to have her in this role. Thank you, Amy. And now I'd like to offer thanks to those ambassadors who have reached the end of their service with the group. Danae Hunt from Emil Rummel Insurance Agency and Lynn Newmeyer from Independent Bank. Danae completed her first term by serving 3 years on the team, and Lynn has also completed a term and has served a total of 5 years. Both Danae and Lynn have represented the Chamber at the Michigan Association of Professionals Conference, helping to forge connections between members and serving a vital role in the Chamber's member retention. Thank you for your service, Danae and Lynn, and welcome to the distinguished group of Ambassador alumni. We also say goodbye to outgoing ambassadors Nina Hogel from Fearless Networking and Fred Wydra, formerly of Fred Wydra Agency. We appreciate your support and your volunteer time. You've provided a valuable service to the Chamber. In addition to acknowledging our departing ambassadors, we also welcome some of our new ambassadors who will be joining the team. We welcome Andrea Sanchez from Independent Bank, Lindsay McNally-Carey from McNally Office Service and Upholstery, Emma Rogers from Future Insurance, Keith Wenzel from TCF/Huntington Bank, Ken Volker with Wilson Realty, Jesse Kendall from the First State Bank, and Jill Nepperud from Century 21. And a very special thank you goes out to Jill Nepperud and Keith Wenzel for their extraordinary commitment to the Chamber, serving on both the ambassador and the diplomat teams. The Chamber thanks you for your service. And now, before we go into the community update, I want to tell you about some of the ongoing programs with the Consumers Energy Our Town and Saginaw Chamber Living Local gift card giveaway. Consumers Energy provided an amazing $25,000 to the Saginaw Chamber to support member retail and eating establishments. The Chamber then used those funds to purchase gift cards from member companies, which we are giving away to members who register to win. Drawings are held each weekday starting on December 21st through January 29th, so through the end of this month. From those who register, have a chance to win, and you can only win once. The good news is there's still time to register. Just visit the homepage on the Chamber's website, saginawchamber.org, and click on the rotating gift card giveaway header at the top of the page, or visit the Chamber's Facebook page and the link that's pinned to the top. And now I think it's time for our community update. Coming to you from the balmy state of Florida. Back again, please welcome Chamber President Veronica Horn. Veronica, take it away.
Thanks, Susan, and thank you, everybody. And it is not 30 down here, but it's not 80. So, but my husband and I are taking a quick 1-week getaway, and I am coming live from Fort Myers, soon to be at Fort Myers Beach. So anyway, for our community update, I just wanted to remind you, you've all gotten our business advocate. And annually, I like to review the purpose of the Chamber and our legislative advocacy. This year, the theme of the business advocate is that elections have consequences. And I think we've all seen some of those, I don't even want to say unfortunate, but just disgusting consequences that have come from this election. I mean, right out of the chute, I want to make a statement about how we absolutely condemn any kind of violence, from everything that happened this past year and now into this. Those were unprecedented actions, and there were some deaths, and this should not happen in the United States. But that's why it's even more important for us to have a voice in government. If the election results have shown us anything, it's just simply how deeply divided we are as a nation. Many of the races won were with very few votes, yet I hear the word mandate thrown around a lot, saying, oh, we have a mandate now. We don't have a mandate. I think the only mandate we have is to find ways to work together to move our community forward. And I'm hopeful that our elected officials, from the president and Congress to state and local officials, recognize that division and move to govern in a more cooperative way. But the most important thing I want to impress is that you and I, are the ones that can really make a difference in our community. We can do this by best identifying common concerns, forming coalitions, including those with an interest in helping to address those concerns, and then following through with our elected officials. So why do we advocate? We place a high priority in government affairs with the Saginaw County Chamber of Commerce. As an organization, we believe that our country and region need a voice in government and policy decisions on the local, state, and federal levels in order to achieve our mission, the Chamber's mission, to communicate, connect, and influence. Perhaps the most important part of that vision is the last part, of being able to influence on behalf of you, our members. And that's where we can truly impact the growth and future of our business community, as well as the economy and quality of life in our county and our region. Even this past year, as we all worked remotely and the world struggles with mandatory shutdowns, staff shortages, intermittent closings, and uncertainty on a daily basis, the Chamber was still able to provide a strong, united voice to support and grow our community. We undertook a number of things, and you're going to hear from Kevin, our speaker, about some opportunities that will be coming up that the Chamber will be deeply involved with, including helping to distribute and take applications for the stimulus grants for small business and trying to get those out to you. And at the very least, getting you accurate information as quickly as we can, how to apply, and connect you with the people that can help assist with that. We advocate, we have a process. This year, every 2 years, we set new policies, legislative policies for the Saginaw County Chamber of Commerce. To do that, we survey our members, we look to other chambers and business organizations across Michigan to identify those issues of importance. And then we develop our policy statements to provide a framework for our advocacy efforts. The Chamber Board of Directors evaluates those statements and votes on an advocacy agenda that advances our mission and vision. Once approved, once approved, the documents are created and shared with the membership at the chamber, and then we begin to move those policies forward. So as we develop those this year, we look to you. We gather some board members that are interested, but if you have an interest in helping, we do have an ad hoc committee, and we look at things like insurance reform and labor issues and, you know, minimum wage issues. And so if you're interested, get a hold of anybody on staff and they'll connect you with me, with us, and we'll have try and plug you in to help us develop those policy statements. Your continued support through membership and sponsorship of our events enables us to work on your behalf. And so we're really grateful for that. And thank you for your commitment to making our community better. So some other events that are coming up. Next month is our annual, we do this every February, we do the State of the City and State of the County address. And that's always done by the mayor of Saginaw and the chairman of the board or chairperson of the board for the Saginaw County Board of Commissioners. So it will be a virtually held Perk next month, Friday, February 4th. And this year it will feature Saginaw Mayor Brenda Moore and Saginaw County Board of Commission Chairman Carl Ruth. And they'll each give us an update on the state of our city and county. Just a reminder too that the Chamber Chairman's Ball has been moved to November in 2021, when we are very, very optimistic that we should all be able to meet in person. And since it's the beginning of the year, please remember to update your required labor law posters. The Chamber can help you with that through our partnership with the Michigan Chamber of Commerce. So just visit our website under the Chamber Benefit Partner tab. And now, before I bid you adieu, I think it's time to take a little break for our virtual business card exchange. In just a moment, we'll send you into a break room with several other Perk guests where we encourage you to introduce yourself and share a little bit about your company. We'll take about 10 minutes for you to zoom around the room, and then we'll zap you back here to continue our program. Please remember to unmute yourselves and turn on your video when you get back into the room. And if you use the call-in numbers instead of the Zoom app or links, you must press *6 to unmute yourself. Happy Zooming. Well, welcome back, everyone. I hope you all had the opportunity to make some new connections and just catch up with one another. We certainly had an interesting breakout room and learned a lot about TCF, Huntington, that merger, and Saginaw Public Schools, and Manor Financial Services. So, but now I want to take you to the main part of our program and introduce you to today's speaker sponsor. So please say Happy New Year to Bridget Staffolino from Jolt Credit Union. Take it away, Bridget.
Hey, what's up, Saginaw County Chamber? I'm so excited to be here on behalf of Jolt. I'll tell you, it has been a crazy year. We're talking about Zoom. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like I've been on Zoom the entire freaking year. You know, we were just talking in our breakout session about how, you know, all that you heard was, you're on mute, you're on mute, you're on mute. We heard you're on mute. I don't know about you guys, but some cameras were in areas that I don't want to see. I've seen, you know, ceilings where I'm like, hey, you got a cobweb up there. I don't know. I've noticed that my lips are starting to recede. So the next time you guys see me out in public and I have like carp lips, don't blame me, blame Zoom. I'm going to blame it all on Zoom. But you know what? Even though it was a hell of a year, I'll tell you, we've had some really awesome things going on at Jolt. I'm really proud to work there. from the time the pandemic started, we figured out a way to work with our staff who have kids that are caregivers, have kids at school, kids at home. We worked with our members and we figured out ways to help them with, loans they couldn't afford and pushing their mortgage payments out or their car payments out and skipping loans and not charging fees. We did everything. We tried to do as much as we could for our staff and our community. We did so many great things. And I could go on and on, but I only got 3 minutes. I think I'm already done with 2 or 1. So anyway, but what I'm really proud about is we created a program after canceling our management and board Christmas party and staff Christmas party. We took that money and we decided to create Jolt Joy, and it's celebrating the holidays. And so what we did is we wanted to spread a little joy and work with our community partners that do so much good out in the community. And we wanted to be a part of that and help them spread some joy during such an awful, horrible year for everybody. And so we worked with Marine Toys for Tots in Saginaw Bay City and Midland, and the Boys and Girls Club of the Great Lakes Bay region, and the food pantries, First Presbyterian, the Midland County Emergency Food, and also Our Lady of Peace Parish, formerly St. Mary's, and Amazing Grace Animal Shelter, and we used over $12,000 to help them out. And so I'd like to show you the video of what we did. We got staff involved. We went out and we purchased clothes and boots and animal food and all kinds of wonderful things and toys, the toys. So Nance, take it away and show our video. So you guys, that was pretty cool, right? I would be remiss if I didn't also talk about the great things that Saginaw Credit Union's Impact Saginaw has done with our community too. It's a collaboration of credit unions in Saginaw. We dismiss our individual credit unions to push out all the good that we can do for kids in our area. So at Jolt, another great thing about Jolt is we believe the power of imagination is only eclipsed by the power of doing. And come on, you guys, who doesn't do it? Who does it better than Saginaw, right? I mean, Saginaw is awesome. So on behalf of Jolt Credit Union, we wish Saginaw an amazing year of kicking ass and doing good. And so it is my absolute pleasure right now to introduce our speaker. And if we could give him a round of jazz hands applause, I would like to introduce Kevin Courtois. Kevin Courtois is the Executive Director of the Great Lakes Region and Government Affairs at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. To achieve the U.S. Chamber's policy goals, Kevin cultivates and maintains legislative, political, media, and grassroots resources in Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Kevin leads the Chamber's efforts to strengthen its relationships with members of Congress through member businesses, associations, and local state chambers of commerce across the region. Before joining the Chamber, he spent 5 years in Washington, D.C., working for Senator Chuck Grassley's Finance Committee during his consideration of the Affordable Care Act. He also worked served as Senator Gracely's Judiciary Committee, where he handled health policy issues and federal judiciary nominations. While working on Capitol Hill, Kevin attended evening classes at the George Mason University School of Law before completing his last year at Northwestern's law schools in Chicago, where he currently resides. Please welcome Kevin.
Well, thank you, Bridget. It's an honor to be with you all today. And Bridget, I have to tell you, your energy and positivity was much needed this morning and deeply appreciated. And so thank you for that introduction and a jolt of positive energy. And again, really honored to be with you all. And it's an honor to work with the Saginaw Chamber of Commerce. And for those of you who don't know, the U.S. Chamber, we're headquartered in Washington, D.C. I lead our Great Lakes Regional Office based here in Chicago, where I'm, I guess, broadcasting to you from today. We've covered it a bit, but we have to mention those events yesterday. And the reason we needed that positive energy is because I think as we all witnessed, those images from our U.S. Capitol yesterday were deeply disturbing. And as someone who has worked in those halls of Congress and on the Senate floor, I truly was shaken to my core. Veronica, I appreciate your leadership always. And I'm encouraged by your remarks this morning and the need to work together and really a deep understanding of what it means for all of us on this Zoom meeting in terms of being part of the business community. We're often referred to the old cliche as that sane middle. We've been working, together as chambers of commerce and certainly with some efforts at the U.S. Chamber to rebuild the center, to find common ground and to find solutions to the problems that we faced. I was encouraged also to hear about your government affairs program and your dedication to that. It's because of that hard work, all of you, that we were able to get the types of responses we've seen to the COVID pandemic through things like the CARES Act back in March, and then most recently a second pandemic relief package that was passed the end of last year, and we'll get into that. What I'd like to do today is talk a little bit about, first we'll talk about the second pandemic relief package, and then we'll take a look at what to expect from the Biden administration. If you didn't see earlier this morning, just a few hours ago, Congress did execute its constitutional responsibility and voted to certify the Electoral College results. So we are looking ahead to this year. And after January 20th, the new Congress was sworn in on Sunday. And so we're looking ahead to what are the possibilities, what are the opportunities and the challenges we may face in this new Congress. Buried in the news yesterday was the election results in Georgia, where we were anticipating those since November. The two election results, so there was 2 Senate seats that were up there, and Democrats won both seats in there. And the implication is now we have a 50-50 split in the U.S. Senate, and with the tie-breaking vote going to the Vice President, Kamala Harris, Democrats will have control of the Senate effectively. There are some technical details, Senate procedure, where you'll see potentially co-chairs and how they're going to handle an actual 50-50 split, but we all understand the effective implications. So we'll go through some of that, and then I'd be happy to open it up to questions if we have time for that as well. So what I'm going to do is start sharing my screen here. And we'll get right into what is in this second pandemic relief legislation. Before we do the outlook, I think what's really relevant, what I'm getting requests for now is, okay, so this pandemic relief legislation had passed right before the holidays, and now businesses are wondering, what can we do? And for the small businesses on the line, and I know some that were in my breakout session, was really good to hear kind of things that you're up to. We can talk a little bit in more detail about some of the programs that you may want to take advantage of. But first, why did we need this second pandemic relief act? Remember when the CARES Act passed back in March, it was said, we want this to be a bridge to get us through to the other side. And what we saw was it effectively was a pier, right? There was a drop off because what we're seeing is a K-shaped recovery, What we would hope for was a V-shaped recovery. We had that steep drop off at the beginning of the pandemic. We've seen recovery in industries like technology, retail, and software services, but still industries that are hurting, travel, entertainment, hospitality, and a lot of small businesses are still hurting. Now you see here some of the industries that are still very much struggling: motion picture, sound recording industries, performing arts and spectator sports, travel, and accommodation still need assistance. So that was kind of the backdrop of getting a second pandemic relief package through Congress. So what was included? Well, it was $900 billion in total spending, almost 6,000 pages of legislation. A lot of that was because it's also paired with an end of the year spending bill. This was to keep the government funded through the end of the next fiscal year, through next September, and Congress was able to avoid a government shutdown. This was signed into law on December 28th, and these programs will be implemented over the course of the next few weeks and months. You see unemployment support there. So first was second round of stimulus checks, so that's outside of unemployment, but going around, you remember the first round of stimulus checks, $12,000 for individuals. This package included $600 stimulus checks, and then it enhanced those unemployment benefits, those enhanced unemployment benefits for 11 weeks, adding a federal add-on of $300 a week. Remember previously in the CARES Act, it was $600 a week. We think this will fit well in kind of what businesses needed in terms of people returning to employment, but also providing assistance for those that are unemployed. Small business support, you see the top line numbers there. We're going to go into a little bit more detail on what that means in terms of the Paycheck Protection Program and other programs involved. You see housing support there, the eviction moratorium that you may have heard about or read about, that is extended, and there's some funding in there for rental assistance, and then other various programs, all adding up to about $900 billion in a federal response. So I want to go over 4 programs here in a little bit more detail, and this is what we're talking about, specifically assistance for small businesses. I wouldn't tune out if you don't consider yourself a small business, because you may still qualify. We're going to start with the Employee Retention Tax Credit, and this one didn't get as much attention in the last year in the CARES Act, mostly because it wasn't as accessible as the PPP. But if I can leave people with one takeaway here, it's going to be to pay attention to this tax credit. What does it do? So beginning January 1st of this year, 2021, it's a refundable and advanceable tax credit of up to $14,000 per employee. In terms of who can qualify, so generally if you have fewer than 500 employees and you've experienced more than a 20% decline in gross receipts in a quarter compared to that same quarter last year, or excuse me, in 2019, so pre-pandemic, then you can qualify for this tax credit. Specifically, it's a $7,000 per employee tax credit for 2 quarters of 2021, so a total of $14,000 per employee for both quarters, and it's authorized in law for the first quarter of 2021 and then the second quarter as well. Now, you may remember this tax credit from the original CARES Act back in last spring. It was a smaller credit. It was $5,000 per employee, and small businesses had to choose between taking a PPP, Paycheck Protection Program loan, and getting the Employee Retention Tax Credit. So a lot of people gravitated to the PPP because, frankly, it was a better deal. So important here in this new bill, Congress has removed that prohibition about taking advantage of both. So now, if you've got a PPP, and if you received a PPP in 2020, you can take advantage of the Employee Retention Tax Credit in 2021. And you may even be able to apply part of it looking backwards as part of your expenses in 2020. So this is really a brand new opportunity for a lot of small businesses, and frankly, a more generous opportunity than what was originally included in the CARES Act. Now, how do you file for this credit? It's a little bit different than how you file for tax credits on, say, business expenditures, and that's what makes it even more attractive. So most of us think about tax credits and we think about, okay, well, if you know April 15th, I'm doing my taxes and I can take advantage of a credit then. Well, this is a tax credit that's applied against what employers remit from withholding. So for the typical payroll tax withholding, which obviously means it's much more frequently. It's also a refundable credit. So meaning that if your expenses, your eligible credit exceeds your level of taxes, that the IRS sends you a check for the difference between your taxes paid or what you would have paid and what you're eligible for this tax credit. And importantly, you can even apply at the IRS to receive an advance on this tax credit to help with cash flow issues. It's what's called an advanceable tax credit. So it's a really great opportunity for small businesses, particularly those with 500 or fewer employees. And if that's you, it's great to start talking to your tax accountant. I know Veronica mentioned the Chamber, of course, as always, will help coordinate and keep you updated on these issues and how you can take advantage of the tax credit, the employer retention tax credit, some of your wage expenses for those first 6 months of 2021. So in addition to the 2021 advanced tax credit, one of the things you want to ask, like whoever prepares your taxes, is to look back at 2020 and see if you're able to claim the tax credit for some of the wages that you paid your employees in calendar year 2020. Now note, so in 2020, it was only a $5,000 credit, and it's not as generous as the $14,000 maximum credit for 2021, but still $5,000 per employee. It's worth taking to your tax preparer to find out if you can take advantage of all that from last year, as the year has just closed. Now, if you use a payroll company, you can also check with them to see if you're eligible. The IRS released guidance to the payroll companies for the earlier version of the tax credit to help them with processing these and implementing this on your behalf. So if you use one of those companies, you want to talk to them, we expect they'll have a lot of information as they roll this out, and you can kind of take advantage of this and the PPP. And really, that's the biggest difference of what's in this new bill and what's attractive for a lot of the folks out there. Now, next up, you see a second draw of the PPP loans, so which is the Forgivable Loan, and it's up to $2 million now in this new legislation. It has all the similar features of the original PPP, but it's a bit more targeted to those small businesses that were hit the hardest, those on the bottom half of that K-shaped recovery we were talking about, and those who have exhausted their first PPP loan. The exceptions for the second draw are that you have to have 300 or fewer employees. That's down from the 500 employees under the original PPP program. You also have to meet a revenue reduction test. So under the original PPP program, it was simply an attestation that your business was being harmed economically by the pandemic, or it might be harmed. Here you have to demonstrate, for the second PPP draw, you have to demonstrate that you've had a reduction in gross receipts in a quarter in 2020 of 25% or greater relative to that same quarter back in 2019. So if your business was only off about 5%, you won't qualify for that second draw PPP, even though you may have qualified for the first round of the PPP program. Importantly, here you have to exhaust your original PPP loan in order to get this second draw. It doesn't mean you have to have completed the entire forgiveness process. You simply just have to expend all the funds that you have received under the original PPP by the time you receive the second PPP loan. As far as timing, when you can apply, so we are waiting for the Small Business Administration to reopen the portal for the original PPP program and the second draw, and we're going to keep you updated as they issue guidance and how you can apply for this. So another point to make here is that this law, the second round, this most recently passed law, reopens the original PPP program. Since it was shut down last September, it was not issuing any new loans. It will reopen and issue new loans to small businesses that meet those original qualifications and haven't yet received a loan. So when the Small Business Administration, when they open the portal, release the guidance, if you've never received a PPP loan, you have the opportunity to go to your lender and apply for first draw, an original PPP loan. If you have received that PPP loan and you've exhausted it and you meet the qualifications we were just talking about, the revenue reduction in the 300 or fewer employee requirement, then you can go to your lender, fill out the application for the second draw of the PPP. You might not get as much money. The caps are a little bit different. As I mentioned, it was $10 million that first round. Now it's at a $2 million cap, but it's a great opportunity for those businesses who've used up original PPP funds and are still struggling. Mostly the rules are the same for for the original and the first draw. Some of those differences, we've discussed. There's one significant change that's really positive for businesses, and the single most important one is the taxability of your PPP loan. This was an issue we heard quite a bit about as we all were working through this brand new program that the government stood up last year. So in this bill, Congress clarified that your PPP loan forgiveness is not taxable. And in addition to that, the expenses that you paid with your PPP loan, they remain deductible as ordinary business expenses, just as you would deduct that expense if you were to have used other revenue to pay for it. That was in response to an IRS decision that came out that caused a lot of heartburn for PPP loan recipients last year, and it was a positive change as a result of some really good, strong advocacy efforts. So in sum, there's really no tax consequences for receiving that PPP loan. Now, the other change to the original PPP is the list of eligible expenses for which you can use your PPP loan, and has been expanded. So it now includes the expenses that small businesses have made to comply with public health measures. So for example, you installed plexiglass, or you built a drive-through window, you created partitions to comply with public health recommendations. So those expenses are now forgivable PPP expenditures. The same is true if you have essential supplier goods like perishable items that you order for your business and they're essential to the operation. Those can count as eligible expenses for which you can receive forgiveness. The one important caveat for this program, however, is that the 60-40 rule, it remains in effect. So that rule says that 60% of your expenses, of the total, 60% of your expenses of your total amount of the loan forgiveness has to be for payroll expenses related to paying your employees. So you can increase loan forgivability because of these other expenses, but still 60% of your PPP loan must go towards paying your employees. The new stimulus package also set aside PPP money specifically for minority-owned businesses, probably the most important set aside, very similar to what happened when the PPP was replenished last summer. For these set asides are for community development, financial institutions, and small credit unions and small banks. So there's money in the PPP that's set aside for loans for these institutions. In addition, there's set asides for businesses with 10 or fewer employees who are receiving smaller loans, so those under $250,000, located in some low-income areas. We're waiting for some guidance and SBA determinations on how they are implementing that, but there's going to be some prioritization and some set-asides to ensure those businesses in low-income areas receive these loans. And lastly, on PPP, Veronica, I know we've discussed this and we'll probably discuss more, but the legislation changed the rules to allow eligibility to 501c6 nonprofit organizations. The original CARES Act only included 501c3 nonprofits. And Congress recognized after a lot of advocacy efforts that 501c6s, commonly chambers of commerce, direct marketing, travel and tourism associations, they now qualify for this PPP program. There are some eligibility requirements, which we don't have to go into too much details about, surrounding lobbying in certain percentages, but we will have more details to help chambers of commerce and those organizations as they seek the PPP loan. Okay, so next up, the third program is the first program on this slide. The third program we're talking about is the EIDL grants. So this is the second. This is the second slide, or sorry, third program that we're going to talk about. So remember these EIDL grants from the first bill last year. This is the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, and that's a typical loan program operated by an SBA. It was in existence pre-pandemic. That will be reopened and taking new loans. But in addition to that, there was a targeted grant of $10,000 for small businesses included in the CARES Act. Now, this money ran out several times, and a lot of businesses thought they were going to get $10,000, and they only ended up getting, $1,000 or $2,000. So Congress has re-upped this program with a little bit of a twist. They're giving a priority for small businesses that have 300 or fewer employees that are located in a census tract that's eligible for the new market tax credit. So if you don't know if that applies to you or not, I think you can Google new market tax credit maps and pull up the map. You can see the census tracts to see if you qualify. You had to experience a 30% reduction in gross receipts for an 8-week period between March 2nd, 2020 and the end of the year, compared to a similar 8-week period either before the pandemic or in the prior year. If you meet all those qualifications, then you're going to be at the front of the line to receive the full EIDL grant, full $10,000. If you never received one, you can get that full $10,000. If you received a partial grant in 2020, you can reapply to get the remaining of that up to $10,000. So this is another great opportunity, particularly for small businesses located in low-income areas, to access a grant and specifically set aside for them, and it's a grant you don't have to repay. So the other program included in this bill was for a grant to live venue operators. That means if you're a live event business, theater, producer, live performing arts organizations, museums, independent motion picture theater, or talent representative, then you're going to want to pay attention to that live event grant program. It's specifically tailored and designed for those businesses and offers more money than the PPP program. And it's a direct grant rather than a forgivable loan. So for those programs, the EIDL grants and the live venue grants, you're going to go straight to the Small Business Administration. The SBA is going to administer both of those programs as opposed to going to your lender and with PPP. Now, neither are really currently up and running yet, but they will be in the days and weeks ahead. So you're going to want to familiarize yourself with the SBA website and prepare yourself for when they begin taking those applications. And just to differentiate here, so if you're thinking about a PPP loan, either a first loan, because you never received one, or part of the second draw, that's going to be through your banking institution. And you're going to want to be getting ready, talking to your lender and your bank and getting your applications for the original or the second draw. Then if you're focused on the employee retention tax credit, you're going to want to talk to your tax preparer, your accountant, your bookkeeper, or the payroll company, whoever helps you with your payroll tax submissions. That's who you'll talk to for that. And you also may be in a situation where you're pursuing multiple programs at once. So just remember, you're going to be going to different institutions to receive these benefits. And I'm sure this is an area where Veronica and the Chamber of Commerce can help you navigate this process. Now, I want to move on from that overview of this pandemic relief legislation. I guess first, a little plug for some helpful guides that the U.S. Chamber provides. You can go to uschamber.com/coronavirus to get our guide for the PPP loan forgiveness, a number of other ones. We're updating these regularly when SBA issues new guidance, and these are helpful 1 to 4 page guides to help you prepare as you're applying for some of these grants, loans, and for forgiveness. What was not in that pandemic relief legislation, very quickly, was the liability protections for businesses and schools. These two, and then state and local aid. So these two were negotiating chips for both sides. We'll continue advocating for liability protections. Know that's very important to the business community and to schools. And we also support providing state and local aid. And this is a good segue into kind of what we're looking at kind of moving ahead as we have a new Congress and a new administration, because there is a good possibility of additional pandemic relief as we all of us continue working our way through the pandemic and hopefully to the other side soon. You saw there was President Trump had been proposing a $2,000 stimulus check as opposed to $600. I wouldn't be surprised if that's revisited, as many Democrats do support it. And then also that state and local aid that was being proposed by Democrats. I wouldn't be surprised if that was also revisited. And it's an area where we'll continue to push for liability protections for businesses and school. So I used to give a presentation preparing for the 3 different outcomes of the election. And I thought I had prepared for what we were considering kind of a split Congress, right? Republican control of the Senate. Now, of course, we mentioned earlier the election results in Georgia. Well, that's going to change the assumption I had after the election. So we're looking at unified Democratic control in government. Of course, it's a very slim margin in the Senate, and then a slimmer margin than the previous Congress in the House of Representatives, as Republicans picked up seats there. I want to highlight the importance here of bipartisanship, of cooperation, of working together. That centrist middle is going to be ever more important when we have slimmer margins if we're to get anything done. Some assumptions we were operating under this scenario were that the potential, there's been talk about repealing the filibuster. That's the requirement that in the Senate for legislation to proceed, it needs to receive 60 votes. So in this case, you would have to get, assuming all Democrats stick together, you'd have to get 10 Republican votes to advance legislation. Now, the filibuster has been repealed for nominations. That's one of the big implications of this of Tuesday's election, was nominations will now go through a lot easier. Again, assuming Democratic unity in the Senate. We're going to see aggressive regulatory actions. So initially focused on undoing Trump's actions, the kind of deregulation that we saw during the Trump years. And just as a side note, as you know, over the years, Congress has either delegated authority to the executive, or the executive has used their authority to implement a lot of the policy actions that maybe previously would have gone through Congress. This is something that is difficult for businesses because we like predictability. And when we have a change in administration and a change in party controlling the executive branch, we see more and more of these swings where, although they may implement policies that are helping us now, we'll see those reversed once a new executive is there. So we're going to be keeping a close eye on this, remaining vigilant. We see enforcement being used as a policy tool, decisions made by the executive branch. Also using government purchasing, so procuring. The government buys a lot of stuff, goods and services, and putting in kind of policy decisions into those contracts with private entities that they do business with. See a kind of a change in oversight focus. So where we might have a Republican oversight of a Democratic administration, if depending on how the Senate is organized, we may see more oversight of private entities, of businesses, of corporations. We saw this kind of after the 2008 financial crisis, when there was increased oversight of banks. And finally, the trend we've been seeing is the state attorneys general have been more and more active on both parties. So whatever party is controlling the White House, and implementing, whether there's an executive order, implementing a new law, making decisions there, we're seeing state AGs of the same party kind of band together in lawsuits and challenging it. It used to be that attorney general in the states is kind of a sleepy position, but it's not the case anymore. A lot of are more high profile, and we're hearing more and more from them as they band together in this new kind of way of challenging executive actions at the federal level. So some of the policy areas that, in terms of what we can expect, so the employment, labor, workplace policies, possible return to the PRO Act and card check debate, immigration reform, which is something that the U.S. Chamber has been advocating for some time. I think it could bubble up as another potential policy area. Of course, paid leave, some revised antitrust laws, restricted use of arbitration, something that we're very active in defending, the use of arbitration, corporate disclosures, and liability. So under a tax bill, so if we were operating under assumption of a Republican Senate, I think that was kind of a safeguard to protecting the tax bill in the tax cuts from 2017. We may see those under some threat. Again, it's going to depend on filibuster rules and what can be used in something called budget reconciliation. Something that, again, we'll be kind of remaining vigilant on, is those were a very important update for the business community. And so restricted stock buybacks, you see back in infrastructure, environment, and energy. So we hope that what I was mentioning earlier, this working together, rebuilding the center, finding common ground, perhaps the events yesterday will wake us all up to focusing on where we can find common ground. Infrastructure is a great place to start because we already know there's bipartisan support, and we already know that I may have lost my screen share, but we already know that there's support, and we already know that that it's something that we can find common ground on. What's dividing us, of course, is how to pay for it. Now is, there's no better time than now to really buckle down and decide, all right, how we're going to pay for this. If we all agree this is something we need to get done. Almost all of the states in my region have themselves enacted some type of infrastructure plan. Kentucky is still kind of figuring out how they would pay for their state plan, but time for the federal government to step up and do that. We're calling for an infrastructure package by the July 4th recess, and want to see that get done. I think that's an area where we'll find a starting point. So COVID relief, additional COVID relief, an infrastructure package, say those are kind of the first two areas. Congress, as they get organized, are going to begin figuring out their own internal rules, and the administration is going to start sending over nominees. And this is something we'll pay close attention to. It's going to be a bit easier for President-elect Biden to confirm his nominees now that they have the votes in the Senate. So I had a couple slides, but I am not 100% confident that I am still sharing my screen. So as I figure out this technology, I see a few people shaking their heads. I will end there. Thank you again for having me this morning. And Veronica, and to all the chamber members and your chamber staff, thank you for your consistent and strong partnership, especially over this last year and all that you're doing for your members. And we stand by ready to help at the U.S. Chamber however we can.
Thank you, Kevin. It's always interesting to hear from you and hear your take on what we can expect from our legislators and leaders in Washington. I don't see any questions, but if you do have questions, you can shoot us an email, contact myself or Veronica, and we'll help you find those answers. And now to wrap things up, I'd like to take just a minute to take this moment to we would thank Heather. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to be with us today. But I want to thank today's sponsors. We really appreciate your support and participation. Without them, we could not provide these services and events that bring us together to communicate, connect, and influence our way to a thriving business community. Remember that when you get a call from one of our chamber diplomats, please take their call and talk to them about how your business can be a part of connecting with other chamber members. And remember to join us for the virtual State of the City, State of the County Perk on February 4th. Until then, thank you for coming, and don't forget to shop with other chamber members and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you, everyone.